Magnificent pair of bananas. Oh, great heavens!
Matt and Abby became famous online for posting semi-authentic videos of their picture-perfect love life online. This young couple found a glitch in the system, with content focused on their love life, family, and personal lives. Apparently, people wanted to see this, and the couple were more than happy to meet that demand. People really liked their content. They weren't like other TikTok couples who were cringe and unsettling, and so Matt and Abby became cringe and unsettling. They would post things that were honestly just too much information, and the husband, Matt, would turn out to be an insensitive, spoilt man-child with no self-control or self-awareness.
Just above my crotch.
Nice.
My boobs are
They're exploding.
rock solid.
I think your boobs are bigger than your butt at this point.
Undoubtedly.
He commented on his wife's weight just after she had his child and complained about having to share his birthday with Father's Day.
Yes.
He had Father's Day and his birthday on the same day. And
So sad.
I will say I did kind of combine the holidays.
You did combine the two of them.
Even telling Abby, who's just had his child, that they cheated birth because she had a C-section.
Felt like we cheated birth.
It was,
like,
it was crazy.
After going through such a scary, traumatic, it was almost like it was bloody too. Like there was blood everywhere with the first birth. I was not expecting that. So with this one, it felt like we cheated because if we just like walked into the hospital, walked into this room, boom, you're open and here's our kid. It was just like so quick. I was like, there's no way.
And if you're feeling sorry for Abby, thinking she's a victim, don't. As you'll find out, she was the main culprit when they left their infant kids alone in a room while they went to a fancy dinner on a luxury cruise ship. This couple is wild. Let's start from the top. The most important thing to remember about Matt and Abby is that they've been together since they were kids. Even now, in 2025, Matt is 26 and Abby is 25, which puts them at age 21 and 20 respectively when they started making content 5 years ago in 2019. They made travel vlogs and a couple of challenge videos. It was nothing too special. They weren't the first couple to make videos like that, and they wouldn't be the last. What did make them special, though, was that they were already married at that age. Being an extremely young yet married couple meant that they connected with an audience who were shocked and impressed by their level of commitment towards each other. They started going viral in 2021 with content like this.
So much.
I know you do. I'm so sorry. I'll be able to turn off the lights really soon so you can go back to bed.
Big blood vessels.
Oh, you did a little bit, but it's okay.
My eyes.
It'll go away in a day.
My neck.
A little bit, but it's okay. It'll go away in a day. You're tough.
I feel so bad that you're doing that.
Don't feel bad.
It usually follows a format where Abby goes through a tough moment as a pregnant wife, and Matt, the superhero husband, is right there to say the sweetest things to comfort her and handle the situation. What most people love about content like this is the relatability of it. A lot of the audience, comprising mostly young women, either admire Abby for staying strong whilst pregnant, or Matt for being the perfect husband. Or at least, that's the vibe you get when you read the comments. What I love is that he didn't lie to her and make her feel better at that moment, even though she couldn't tell. He could have said, "No, you didn't break any blood vessels, you look great." But he said, "You did break a little bit, but they'll be back in a day." That simple honesty means the world to people. This is what love looks like. He isn't just cleaning up after her, he's saying exactly what she needs to hear. I love it. The moment you know he's a keeper, you're feeling at your worst, and he still treats you as the best. So yeah, that's the vibe of these videos. If you ignore, of course, that Matt took the time out to set up a camera before cleaning up the vomit. Whilst it's definitely a sweet moment, you gotta knock 20% off when it happens in front of an intentionally set up camera. You just have to. Another example of this is Matt reacting to the news of Abby being pregnant only 5 months after their first baby.
It's gonna be alright, Abby.
It's just getting darker.
It's gonna be okay.
I'm pregnant.
It's a good thing. It's
Matt, are you
okay.
happy?
Yes, of course.
Okay, but 5 months old.
I know. I know, that's definitely not, that wasn't the plan.
I thought for sure that was not going to be positive.
Yeah.
I had a beer,
It's gonna be alright.
and I went on all those rides.
You didn't know.
I don't even believe that. Like, I feel like that's wrong. I wasn't ready. I feel like I'm not ready. I know this is going to be okay, but I just think that this was...
Once again, super husband Matt was coming in clutch to say all the right things in front of a camera. This video has almost 200 million views, and this time he wasn't even saying anything crazy. All he did was be positive about his wife getting pregnant with his own child. You'd think that's the bare minimum. But once again, you've got comments like, Damn, this is the most healthiest relationship I've ever seen. No arguments, no shouting, just pure understanding and compassion for each other. The way he reassured you that you had no part in intentionally harming the baby is so adorable. She said we have a 5-month-old. He like, I know, the calmest and most supporting I know I've ever heard. And rinse and repeat. This would be the formula for success. People had to think the relationship they presented online was healthy and fabulous. Otherwise, there would be no 7 million subscribers and no channel. But this is where the issues began to roll in. Matt and Abby had another one of their clips go viral, and this time it was for the wrong reasons.
Don't be fooled by me picking up my house because I'm not typically the one that does it. And don't be fooled by me taking care of my son because most of the time my wife does that too. Abby really wanted to go to the gym tonight, so I'm on Griffin duty and I wanted to surprise her with a clean house when she got home. In our relationship, we naturally take on more traditional marital roles, and I don't think there's anything wrong with that.
So a couple of things just went wrong in a matter of seconds with this video. First off, he talks about traditional roles when his wife Abby does the same job as he does. It really just seems that the traditional roles he's speaking about only apply to him because then he doesn't get to do anything around the house. But his wife does everything while still working the same job he does. They're both TikTok creators, so it's not like he's working 9 to 5 in an office building or anything like that. It makes no sense. Secondly, he seemed to imply that things like cleaning his own house and taking care of his own son are roles that only a wife does in a traditional household rather than the bare minimum any husband should do. Even with traditional roles, having traditional roles doesn't mean he gets to have a gold star for the once-in-a-blue-moon event of him picking up a mop or taking care of his own son. And then thirdly, what many people found annoying in this video, literally framing. Matt said, "Don't be fooled," which is a very weird thing to say because the only reason why anybody would be fooled into thinking he does a lot of work around the house is because he posts literal hundreds of videos of him doing work around the house. Remember earlier when we saw a clip of him cleaning up vomit? Content like that would suggest to people that he rather does do a lot of cleaning, but guess not. Apparently, it's pretty easy to turn a camera on whenever you want to do a nice thing for your wife and pretend you're the best husband ever. This video was an accidental self-report from Matt, and they received backlash from their audience. Some people who were less familiar with Matt and Abby thought this might be intentional rage bait, but it wasn't. As you'll see in this video, Matt and Abby had a habit of accidentally saying the wrong thing and responding poorly to criticism. After staying silent for a few days, Abby would respond to the situation while Matt remained quiet.
We have different roles. Consider one another's interests and strengths and allocate tasks accordingly. We both take work tasks and we both take household tasks. But I do tend to take on more of the cleaning and taking care of our baby. That's what I enjoy and what I'm good at. My husband is pretty much responsible for the bulk of the business tasks, financial responsibilities, cars, insurance, and so on. I don't want to do those things, and I'm not good at those things. However, that's not to say that we never cross over into one another's territories when one of us is feeling overwhelmed. Matt definitely does tasks around the house, and thanks to the nature of our work, he is the most involved father. He's literally such a good dad that it's ridiculous I'm even saying that.
Like a true out-of-touch influencer, Abby sounds extremely defensive and does not seem to understand the criticism at all. Plus, although she claimed that he handled all the bills, they made a video just 1 month prior where he forgot to pay the water bill for 7 months and had their water supply shut off. So Abby's literally just covering for him here, and she does a lot of that in general. And in true influencer fashion, they capitalized on their popularity by making a podcast to partner their main content. Although, unlike most other influencers, they seem to have a handle on it. They've got relevant topics they're informed about. They invite some really good guests, and unlike the Hawk to a Girl, the podcast they run is actually related to their main content.
When people tell me I look manly, they're like, oh, Abby's gone overboard. Shut up. Literally, shut up. Nothing ever makes it okay to comment on someone else's body.
I think they're just jealous. I think they're jealous
I
that
think
you
they
look
see
good.
a woman with muscles and I'm not even that strong. Like, I will say, like, I'm proud of the way my physique looks. I can't lift a ton.
I mean, let's be honest, you are pretty jacked. You are pretty strong.
But do you hear what I'm saying? Like, visually, I think it looks like I am stronger than I am.
You can beat a dude in a push-up competition. And you've done it before.
Okay,
you've done it at the gym. I know you have.
I can whip out some push-ups. What I'm saying, though, is that, like, the fact that you're attributing muscular with masculine makes me angry because women can be muscular and feminine.
What's funny, Abby, is like you are jacked, but you do not look manly. You look so feminine.
But as usual with lifestyle podcasts by influencers, Matt and Abby either mostly share information that they really need to keep private, or they accidentally say something that exposes their true nature. It's easy to present yourself as sweet and harmless for a 1-minute TikTok video, but when you have to consistently speak for an hour in unscripted content, that mask will just about begin to slip. Most of the time it was really Matt who made the slip, and Abby would just go along with it. Take the Father's Day saga, for example. The conversation point seemed to start as a joke when Abby announced that they weren't going to celebrate Father's Day that year, but they were instead going to celebrate it 3 months later in September.
Yeah.
So we've decided as a family that we are not celebrating Father's Day this year.
It is so sad. I'm so disappointed.
Not celebrating it on Father's Day. But
in September.
And the reason why they're kicking Father's Day 3 months down the road is because it happened to be around the same day as Matt's birthday.
Father's Day, it's always in June, and it's like
Last
always
year
around.
was June 18th, which is Matt's birthday. So he had
Yes.
Father's Day and his birthday on the same day. And
So sad.
I will say I am disappointed in myself, but I did kind of combine the holidays.
You did combine the two of them. It's okay though. I mean, you were pregnant, you were uncomfortable, you were
We
close.
just gotten back from our baby moon that
Yeah.
day.
So it
like
kind
we
of like
flew in from Mexico that day.
Well, we
so
kind
I
of
was like, we kind of
skipped-
celebrated it on the baby moon.
we kind of skipped it, kind of, because it. I mean, like we
I
did.
got you a cake from DQ
I guess we had
and
just
had
gotten
our
home.
family over and grilled.
I think I grilled. Well, I grilled, but I know a lot of dads grill on their birthday,
Yeah.
so it's whatever. But yeah, we had
And
Father's
I grew
Day.
your child
You did grow my child.
all day, every day.
But like Father's Day and my birthday were the same exact day.
Yeah, and I
and
kinda,
it kind of was a bummer because it was like those are two days
I
that
failed. I'm gonna be honest with you. I failed you. I'm
Hey,
so sorry.
but you know what? It's all right. Like there's a lot going on. So, but this year Father's Day is on the 16th of June.
Right off the bat, the conversation sounds like two people desperately trying to avoid an argument despite disagreeing with each other. In this clip, Matt came off as a bit entitled and narcissistic because he was upset that he only got one celebration out of his birthday and Father's Day. Most people thought that not only is that incredibly childish and silly for Matt, but it was also unfair to Abby. He's basically complaining that Abby only threw one party for him when she was heavily pregnant at the time with their second baby, whilst the first baby was still a 1-year-old who also needs plenty of care. On top of all that, they were also just returning from a long-distance trip. The stress from that alone was more than enough to call off any celebrations altogether, yet she still managed to get him a cake and hosted people, which is not easy to do, even if you weren't pregnant or returning from a trip. And still, Matt's response was to cry about having to grill on Father's Day. Ugh. And it's also weird that he's claiming she combined the holidays when, for one, his birthday is not a holiday, and two, she didn't combine them. The calendar did. He was letting her beat herself up over this when it's impossible to have done anything else. And so this brought even more backlash from people, as pretty much everyone thought Matt was being a self-centered jerk.
We've decided as a family that we are not celebrating Father's Day this year.
I'm gonna tell you the part about this that bugs me the most. She's talking, and the whole time he's looking at her like this. Like he's clearly so bothered by it. By Father's Day / birthday of last year. And the whole time she's talking, and she's totally saying, like, yeah, I combined the days, my fault, I was super pregnant, whatever. He keeps chiming in and just dropping things in to make her feel a little shittier. Like, yeah, I grilled that day too. But it's cool because a lot of other dads grill on Father's Day or their birthday. I always get my man something for Father's Day. I get him stuff for his birthday. But, like, he wouldn't cry about it. And he also wouldn't be upset if he had to grill. He enjoys it. So I'm confused.
Once again, this was criticism they couldn't understand. They never made a response to it, but they clearly still had it in mind. At the end of the year, when they reflected on the Father's Day incident, Matt implied that the whole thing was blown out of proportion. That isn't completely wrong, but he kept mentioning People's Magazine for some reason. And Abby even realized she didn't watch the clip back before it got uploaded.
Matt's Father's Day birthday saga.
That was
a memorable moment from Unplanned Podcast 2024. How would you rate that moment?
I
from
never in a
1
million
out of
years
10?
thought there'd be a People Magazine article made about that. Did you know that? People Magazine made an article about it.
Yeah,
It's
I wish I didn't know these things.
like, hey, now I can tell people I was on People Magazine.
And what an accomplishment that is. Okay, but what would you rate that one out of 10? You have to include the
emotional trauma.
Oh my gosh. I mean, like, I can laugh about it now. At the time, I was like horrified.
I'm honestly going to give it 2 out of 10.
Oh, you're giving it 2?
It gets 2 stars back for being, it's kind of funny in hindsight.
I think it's funny now. I'm like, that is so stupid. I mean, the words I said too were so stupid as well. Like, I obviously did not sound good at all. The clip that we put out, I just looked so selfish. I looked so full of myself.
In general, I don't think there's anything wrong with a controversy, but I didn't watch the clip, and maybe the clip made it look really bad. In which case, that's on us. So I guess we had that one coming.
But whilst that controversy proved Matt is a tad self-centered and childish, this next one would be a whole lot worse. On an episode of their podcast where they answer fan questions, Abby decides to ask Matt about their sex life post-baby.
People really want to know this, and I think that you didn't answer the question fully.
What is it?
Serious question. Does it feel different down there after birth?
Oh.
And I'm not talking about after a C-section.
Yeah, actually. Yeah. I feel like it goes back, but it doesn't go back to exactly how it was
we
before.
talked about this the other day, and I was kind of surprised to hear you say that, because you never told me until I asked you.
Because I always heard, it goes back to normal, but it doesn't go back to exactly the way it was before.
To start off, this is just another example of information that really shouldn't be anybody's business. It's just too much information and makes their own audience uncomfortable. This is why some people think their content is rage bait. But secondly, it's an extremely odd choice of question from Abby. A lot of people criticize Matt heavily, but Abby is extremely sus in these situations. She said she asked him in private beforehand, so that means she knew the answer to the question, yet decided to ask it again in front of their millions of subscribers. But Matt still took the large share of the criticism, and rightly so. Abby was clearly looking for some words of reassurance, but Matt was being brutally honest.
That makes sense.
So, maybe I shouldn't go into too much detail.
We can say whatever.
You still like it after?
I still like it, of course.
You like it as much?
Yeah, I would say so.
That doesn't sound very...
I think I like it pretty good.
Oh my gosh.
A laughter with so much pain behind it. Once again, they received backlash for this. And if you needed proof this wasn't rage bait and the criticism does in fact get to them, they turned off the comments on this video. There's certainly an irony in the fact that they made a special podcast episode answering questions from their fans, yet they turned off the comments on the video so their fans couldn't ask any questions they don't like. Censorship is nothing new to Matt and Abby. They tend to either delete comments, shut them off entirely, or remove controversial sections from their videos, which is weird because sometimes it seems like they're looking for controversy. Due to the fact that Matt and Abby married extremely young, a fair share of their content is often one or both of them fantasizing or wondering what their potential lives could have been had they not married each other. Sometimes Abby would ask Matt if he'd be interested in kissing other women, and Matt would respond with a very shaky no.
Interested in kissing other women. Honestly, this is something I've been thinking too. I'm like, the more that Matt has gotten older and only kissed me, the more curious you've gotten about it.
I'm curious what that would have been like if I would have kissed somebody before you.
They've only ever been with each other, so they're not just each other's first kiss, they're also each other's only kiss. So I guess a bit of curiosity is to be expected. What wasn't expected, however, was Matt getting postpartum depression worse than his wife. Everything we've talked about up until this point would pale in comparison to what Matt said on one of their podcast episodes after the birth of their second son. A birth that Matt very unfortunately described by saying it felt like they cheated because Abby had a C-section instead of a straightforward delivery.
It wasn't anything crazy, and then all of a sudden, screaming like a banshee, here is August Jacob.
It felt like we cheated birth.
It was crazy.
After going through such a scary, traumatic, it was almost like it was bloody too. Like there was blood everywhere with the first birth. I was not expecting that. So with this one, it felt like we cheated because we just like walked into the hospital, walked into this room, boom, you're open and here's our kid. It was just like so quick. I was like, there's no way this is happening right now.
People felt like this was another one of those comments that should have stayed in his head. Goes without saying that a C-section is a complex process for birthing mothers, and it was a little tone-deaf from Matt to say a C-section is cheating, especially as he's not the one who's having a baby cut out of him. And yet again, once the criticism gets hot, the comments go off. Matt and Abby turned off the comments on this podcast episode as well. But it doesn't stop there. In that very same podcast episode, Matt somehow manages to say something even worse than the cheating birth comment. Immediately after his wife had just delivered a baby and was probably going through the toughest part of their recovery, Matt got in his feelings and decided to give her the silent treatment.
Can I be honest with you for a second? What? You know how I was like really quiet the first day after the birth?
Yeah.
I think like, look, I don't get like emotional like you, but I think that was like my version of baby blues in a way.
Yeah.
Which I feel like I still don't quite understand what the term baby blues means, but I think
You'll never understand, honey.
I won't, and I won't understand from your perspective. But I think I was having this like realization moment of, okay, like my life just changed big time. And for a little bit, I was like, wow, like all my career goals have to go to the wayside. And I just kind of felt, I was kind of frustrated a little bit.
I could tell.
And I just kind of shut down and didn't say anything. Like I was just like quiet.
Yeah, that was hard for me.
Because I wasn't going to like talk to you about it because I didn't want to like bring you down. But then by me not saying anything, I think that brought you down.
Well, you were bringing me down because you weren't talking to me. It was just hard because I was having such high needs at that point that weren't getting met. And I think it was causing frustration between the two of us.
And it was hard too because like for me, knowing that you can't, other than obviously you need to feed Augie and
this entire clip was cut out of the podcast episode because the backlash on this was bigger than all of the other minor controversies, and you could see why. There is a lot wrong with what Matt just said. His pregnant wife had a C-section and delivered a healthy baby, and in the hardest part of that emotional roller coaster for her, he gives her the silent treatment because he's worried about his career? What fans were particularly upset about was that he tries to draw some invisible parallel between what he's experiencing and what his wife was experiencing, and calls it his version of baby blues. This would be less of a problem if Abby didn't admit that at least part of what was putting her down was Matt not talking to her.
I was kind of frustrated a little bit.
I could tell.
And I just kind of shut down and didn't say anything. Like I was just like quiet.
Yeah, that was hard for me.
Because I wasn't going to like talk to you about it because I didn't want to like bring you down. But then by me not saying anything, I think that brought you down.
Well, you were bringing me down because you weren't talking to me. It was just hard because I was having such high needs at that point that weren't getting met.
People pointed out that the day after your child is born is the absolute wrong day to start worrying about his career. His wife was pregnant for 9 months. All the worrying, if any was necessary at all, should have happened then, or at least long after his wife had recovered from her C-section birth. He had 2 baby sons in front of him, and the thing on his mind was his career. And in case you're wondering, no, this isn't his career as an influencer who makes family videos on TikTok. Matt was instead worried about his career as a recording artist. Matt has been trying to be a singer, and they even plugged one of his songs right in the middle of their podcast episode about birthing their child. He apparently wrote a song for her about the birth of his second child where he said similar things about feeling depressed afterwards, and that got a lot of negative reactions as well. It's important to stress that the criticism isn't that he as a man has no right to feel emotional about things like this, but that he should never be putting his feelings over hers in a time like this by literally giving her the silent treatment. It's already an incredibly selfish thing to be worrying about your career when you've just had a baby, but he made it worse by not even discussing any of it with his wife and leaving her in the dark. Comments on this section were pretty scathing as well. Cheated birth because she got a C-section? That is literally so insulting. She is raising 3 kids. He shouldn't have agreed to another baby if that's how he's going to act. Truly scary for her. If my husband even said a sentence of what Matt has said to his wife in either situation, I'd be signing divorce papers. This grown man felt mad that his wife, who just gave birth to their most recent baby via a major surgery, was unable to care for their other child. This man was mad that he had to fulfill his parenting duties and just told the whole world how poor of a partner he was, let alone likely a poor parent too. The absent but present kind. He doesn't even take in what she's saying. Like she's still trying to say you weren't there for me. It was hard for me. As she's wiping away tears and he continues to try and talk over her about how hard this was for him. Sir, she grew and gave birth to your baby while you were being a completely unsupportive emotional nightmare. He's a complete and total narcissist. Aside from the whining, there's something about him that is off. And that's not even the end of Matt's controversial moments about the birth of their second son. Matt apparently got into an argument with Abby because her breast milk hadn't come in yet, and he was worried that the baby wasn't getting enough sustenance. and fans once again called him out for it.
That the minimum stay for a C-section was 48 hours. It put our marriage to the test. It wasn't the hospital staff. They were great. We were just sleep deprived, and my wife was dealing with the intense hormone change that happens postpartum. But worst of all, there was breastfeeding, which really caused us to butt heads. It was really important to my wife that she breastfed our baby, but her milk hadn't come in yet, and our baby refused to latch. He would scream and cry, and the tension in the room got extremely elevated. I offered to give our baby formula until my wife's milk came in, but she saw this as a direct attack.
A lot of people are super unaware of how much a baby actually needs at each feeding, day 1 through 3. Their stomach is literally the size of a peanut. And yes, your milk is not even supposed to be in until days 3, 4, or 5 because you are actually producing colostrum. Literally drops of milk. And then it grows by day 3. It's like the size of an olive, and so on.
Fans found it concerning that Matt didn't know about the baby not needing a lot of milk, but even more concerning was that he was willing to have a fight with Abby over it when he was clearly not as informed on the issue. Then there's the fact that this information nobody needed to have, but the video went up on his channel anyway, almost as if he was looking for validation that his point of view was the correct one. The comments, as usual, roasted Matt. My favorite part was when he said so ready to go home because he hadn't slept well. I think the whole milk didn't come in yet is harmful. Colostrum is milk. Colostrum is food and important. It's in. Men need slapped when they act like this. Bring back shame. At this point, Matt and Abby had come a long way from when they were the most loved couple on the internet in 2021 and 2022. After the podcast and their second son drama, people were beginning to see more of Matt and figuring out that all the sweetness they saw in earlier videos was just an act. Everything Matt and Abby did now was drawing a high level of scrutiny. Another bit of controversy Matt got into was when Matt made a video about needing to go to the hospital the same week when they were moving. It turned out that he was fine, but fans didn't like Matt for it because they thought he was trying to dodge responsibility or make himself the center of attention.
I'm so sorry. We have to talk about Matt's most recent video talking about how the week that they are moving, he ended up in the hospital. And this is just like another example of how someone can center themselves in a time when there's like a lot of things going on, a lot of stress going on, a lot of tasks that need to be completed. So he talks about how he had an accident in the gym, which somehow he also caught on tape, where he bonked his head like 3 weeks ago. Seemed fine, started to have some like concussion symptoms and went to the doctor. The doctor then said, well, you need to go to the ER for a CT scan. He filmed his CAT scan. I don't know why this is the part that really like sends me off. And basically they just told him like, yeah, well, this didn't show anything, so you're fine. The like day in the life structure of this, and then also just like being a man who then has to have everybody drop everything to take care of them the week that they are moving. I just can't. Can you imagine being the medical professional that's sending this man in and he's like, hold on, is it okay if I hold my phone? Like,
and as you can see, at this point, anything Matt did now was just bringing the ire of the entire internet. Some of these controversies aren't as bad as the others, but you'd still get comments like, my question is, why does Matt have his own profile, but Abby says Matt and Abby? It's all about Matt. The part that sent me over was, I've never been to the ER. It was pretty cool. Cool? It's for life-threatening situations. As someone who works in radiology, I'm dying at the CT scan. Why though, for real? Oh, Matt, they could never make me like you. Comments like those really paint the picture of how far Matt and Abby have come since they started to make content. At the beginning, you had a lot of people who worshipped the ground Matt walked on because they thought he was the best husband ever. Now, you have lots of people who can't stand him doing anything because more exposure has revealed what kind of person he truly is. Even minor things like Matt thinking a girl calling him daddy is hot disgusted people, so much so that they had to turn off the comments on this video too.
I'm never gonna call you daddy again. That's so
I think
weird.
that's kind of hot. I mean, feel free to if you want.
You're kidding.
What?
You're one of those?
I don't know. I mean, I kind of liked it. I call you hot mama.
Like, I know, but mama
I'm
feels
always
better
like,
than like mommy.
I
Just
think,
like dada sounds
that's
better
true.
than daddy.
I don't call you mommy. I feel like that would be weird to call you mommy. That reminds me
But
of
even
Poppy.
daddy's just worse though.
I don't know. I mean, if people are into that stuff, like it could be kind of fun, depending on the setting.
Save it for private settings.
Yeah, for private settings.
Not like on this public podcast.
The irony there is that they discuss things way more private than that on said public podcasts, which is another thing that had gone horribly wrong with Matt and Abby. People liked them at first because they envied their relationship and found them relatable. But now people who criticized them saw them as narcissistic, out-of-touch influencers with an inflated sense of ego, which is the precise opposite of what you hope to achieve with a podcast. This next controversial moment is also actually one of their most memed ones as well. During one of their podcast episodes, they were answering some questions and discussing why people shouldn't get married to each other for looks. Abby then admits she hasn't always found Matt attractive, which prompted Matt to give the funniest response possible.
I just find you very attractive.
Yeah, I find you very attractive too.
And there was a time where I did not.
Same.
Isn't that so funny how our brain can do that, though?
Yes.
It's so crazy. And that's also why you shouldn't marry someone for looks.
Bingo.
Like, I sound like such a hypocrite because I'm saying that and I'm married to, like, such a hot man. Like, such a good-looking man.
Most people interpreted Matt shrieking out "same" as a tad sus, like he's been waiting a long time to get it off his chest. Matt definitely has his fair share of haters at this point, and they were ready to nail Matt to the cross again for mentioning he's not always been attracted to his wife. But that criticism is a bit unfair, considering Abby was the first one to mention it, and all he did was match her comments, albeit a tid overzealously. If anybody had problems with what Matt said, then they should have had problems with Abby too. Ultimately, most non-fans of Matt and Abby just found the whole thing an uncomfortable experience. No couple really needed to be speaking about this stuff on a public podcast because it's just too much information. What many may not know about the whole "same" saga was that they actually did it again on a different episode of their podcast. Albeit Matt didn't sound as excited this time to tell everyone that he's not attracted to his wife, he brought the same energy when Abby said she doesn't feel attracted to him when she's mad.
I'm not even physically attracted to you, even though you're the same person.
Same. I'm not physically attracted to you when I'm really mad at you.
So that's why the word attractive to me, I hold it at a much, like, different, separate
Unless
category.
you're looking really freaking good.
Again, Abby was playing the role of instigator here. A lot of people don't give Abby her fair share of the blame for the odd things that they do, but oftentimes she either instigates it or goes along with it. In case you're wondering, the full context here is yet another uncomfortable discussion where Matt is trying to justify being attracted to other girls more than Abby.
But the thing is though, if somebody is like, I don't know, like when I have a hard time believing you like this, like when you're like, I literally don't think anybody's more attractive than you.
No, I truly...
There's no shot. You can't tell me, you think Michael B. Jordan, very attractive guy. You've told me that you think he's very attractive.
But I told you, I think he's handsome. I think he's like good looking. But for me, attractive is so much. There's so much emotional involved in that. Like so many emotional factors. No. It's like I could never call him attractive.
I see what you're saying, but I guess when I say attractive, I just mean physically. I'm not talking about like anything else.
Masquerading his true opinion behind brutal honesty is a classic gaslighting technique. And things like that, although small, is why Matt has been tagged the worst TikTok husband out there, which is a very impressive title to be bestowed with. But Abby also has her detractors too. She's been branded a control freak because she seems to control every major decision the family makes. On some of their podcast episodes, she's accidentally revealed that she overrules Matt on certain things like their wedding planning, whether or not to move their home location and design choices for their home. All in all, the consensus is that Matt and Abby are an unhealthy and toxic couple, and they really shouldn't be the role models of the next generation. Whilst that is contentious, people definitely find content like this uncomfortable and sharing way too much private information.
I do want to ask you this question though. Have you thought about what it'd be like to kiss another guy? Have you thought about that?
I've thought about it, okay?
Yeah. And have you ever been like, that might be interesting to try that out?
I would never do it, but I've thought about it.
Same. That would be my answer.
And I would say it's never been like I thought about a specific person even. Like I've just been like, what if I kiss another guy?
Yeah, totally.
It wasn't like, what if I kissed?
The top comment on this video sums up Abby's perspective on the whole attracted to another guy talk very well. I totally see where Abby is coming from, saying she's not attracted to other men. There's a difference between thinking someone is attractive and being attracted to them. I can notice someone is physically attractive, but I'm genuinely not attracted to anyone aside from my husband. And this one comment responding to that comment hits the nail on the head perfectly on the general vibe Matt and Abby gives off. I'm not sure if you'll see this comment, Matt and Abby, but I hope so. This is the first time that I've felt uncomfortable watching one of your videos. It has an undercurrent of passive aggression and dissatisfaction, especially in Matt's talk about enjoying clubbing, wanting to become a DJ, thoughts about if it would have been better to have other partners, other kisses, that you've been fighting, etc. His random compliments, approximates of nothing, can't conceal the problem. I suspect that parenthood is fulfilling Abby, but is making Matt feel stifled and old before his time. The second baby has turned the screws some more. If you do see this comment, and it is written with genuine affection and concern for you both, I hope that you'll consider therapy. I work in a psychology field, and it can be extremely helpful in supporting people through life's challenges and giving strategies to be happier together. And it is true that since the second baby, Matt and Abby has gotten a lot more controversial. They had like 1 or 2 controversial moments prior to 2023, but since then, they've been running a rate of about 1 questionable thing per podcast episode. But if all they've done is say some edgy things on a lifestyle podcast, then they wouldn't be receiving this amount of criticism. No, things got way worse when they decided to leave their infant kids unattended whilst they went for dinner on a cruise ship. To paint the full picture, Matt and Abby, alongside their 2 kids aged 2 and 1 years old respectively, and a couple of extended family members, decided to embark on a family vacation on the probably very expensive Royal Caribbean's Navigators of the Seas cruise in September of 2024. Normally, when a family is on vacation, you don't get to hear about it until after the whole ordeal is over. But thankfully, Abby kept her fans updated through her Instagram stories. So the first one she posted was this: I actually think that's all I have for you today. I am currently in that phase of family vacation where I am extremely overstimulated and questioning why I thought it was a good idea to cram into a tiny cabin on a boat and mess up our little human schedules for 7 days. But I'm thinking that once we get more settled, I'll perk right up. Keep you updated. So from that day one, we learned that she's feeling a little anxiety over the trip, but still excited, so let's see what she says on day 2. Day 2 update. I feel better, that's for sure. Less fight or flight, but still kinda panicky from time to time. I'll be honest, it's still not giving vacation plus. But hey, Griffin especially has been laughing a lot and really enjoying himself. And tomorrow, they are going to be checked into the kids club for the first time. So I'll let you know how that goes. So here we have Abby still whining about her first-class cruise ship experience, but she says they'll check the kids into a kids club and hopefully they can start having a good time. So on day 3, we get another update. This didn't last long. 5 minutes after this, we had to leave dinner to go get our 1-year-old from the nursery because he was sad. 15 minutes after we dropped him off to have a kid-free dinner. Oh, and we made it through the meal. Only a couple breaks for walks. I'll take it. So they had a real dilemma on their hands. Their baby was unhappy in the childcare services, and they had to take walks in the middle of their fancy dinner to calm the kids back down. But now she seemed to be getting anxious or annoyed that the kids would interrupt any child-free activities that she and Matt had planned. Her update the next day was, me walking into the formal dining every night, wondering if we will make it through the meal with the kiddos or be taking it to go. She plays it off as a joke, but you can sort of see that they're getting frustrated with their kids getting in the way of them enjoying their formal dining. And so Abby had this to say in her next update. Overall, I would say I think I would choose a different type of vacation until they're just a bit older. But if your extended family is going, as in our case, I would say definitely still go. You can make it work and have a good time. I just think there are places that are more naturally suited for really little kids, and that makes it easier on the parent and more enjoyable for the kiddos too. Plus, being in the middle of the ocean made me feel nervous with my babies in a way that I've never felt previously on a cruise. Sorry for being so long-winded. Those are my final thoughts on that, in case you're considering cruising with a baby. But also, every baby is different, she carried on. As for places on board for toddlers, I have to say I was disappointed. There wasn't anything for their age except for a small section of the splash pad. They weren't allowed in the pool or even the majority of the splash pad. I wish they had just a small soft play area or a playground or even just a safe room for them to run around in. Because my boys are active and there wasn't a safe space for them to really move at all. Other ships have this, but ours did not. Tip: the putt-putt course was a good place for them to get their wiggles out, so I do recommend that. So through these Instagram stories, Abby appeared to be rating the cruise ship as well as giving parenting advice, and at the same time also complaining about not having anywhere to leave off her kids so she can go do adult things. The influencer brain never slows down even on vacation. But they had a problem, so thinking on their feet, they came up with a solution. In the next Instagram stories update, she said, our game plan was to play all day with the kids and then let them hang out in the kids club while the adults went to the formal dining. As long, nice dinners is not a setting designed for them. Well, you need to book ahead if your child is under 3, and pretty much all of the dinner slots were already booked before I could get to the nursery, an hour after boarding. And then she updated later that night saying, So we ended up taking them for 5 nights, and it became apparent that they weren't enjoying it, and therefore we weren't either. So then, we switched our dinner time to after their bedtime and FaceTimed the monitors while we ate. Baby monitors don't work on board unless you're only like 10 feet away, and that worked out much better for everyone. Okay, so in case you're not up to speed, Abby just admitted that they waited until their sons were asleep, then left them alone in their rooms whilst they went to dinner. The reason why they had 2 screens was because they had each of their sons in 2 separate rooms, because the kids slept in blackout tents, which were too big to put 2 of in the same room. Also, Abby mentioned that this way, if one woke up and started crying, the noise wouldn't then be able to wake up the other. Matt posted a video beforehand confirming the arrangement.
Abby is staying in the room next to ours, so I get this whole bed to myself. It's actually just 2 twin beds squished together. Oh! And we do that so that we can have one kid in one room and the other kid in the other room.
Immediately, people put the pieces together. Matt and Abby came under intense criticism. This was far more cynical than Matt being immature about Father's Day or being too blunt when talking to his wife on a public podcast. They left their kids alone in their rooms at night whilst they hung out at a formal dining room. This was 10 times worse than they seemed to realize. With numerous stories coming out about kids and people being kidnapped on cruise ships, everyone wondered what kind of parents would want to enjoy formal dining so bad that they would even consider leaving their babies unattended in order to make it happen. Many people pointed out that if Matt and Abby had done some basic research or planning ahead of the trip like any responsible parent would, they could have easily made an arrangement that would work for both the kids and the adults. They didn't seem to know the ship's childcare services or schedules, and they seemed desperate to not take care of their kids. Amidst this heavy backlash, it didn't take long before Abby realized the huge mistake she just made and deleted all of the Instagram posts. Matt and Abby went radio silent on the whole situation, and only returned 3 days later to drop an extremely underwhelming apology video.
Hey everybody, we usually would not be making a video like this, but there is information circulating about us that is completely untrue, so we just wanted to set the record straight, clear the air, because we take our role as parents extremely seriously, and we love our children more than anything in the entire world, and we're very protective of our kids. So we just got back from a 7-night cruise with Abby's extended family, and this was everyone from Abby's grandma, our children's great grandma, to our 1 and 2-year-old. And so where this whole controversy started, I guess, is a few days ago, Abby posted on her Instagram story that we were at dinner FaceTiming the baby monitors while our children were asleep in their staterooms. And people started to speculate and believe that we had left our children alone in their staterooms. And that is just completely untrue because we had someone with our children at all times on this boat. Period.
I can see where my story did lead to misunderstanding, which is why I ended up deleting it several hours after posting it, is because I could see that it was causing concern and misunderstanding. And I do want to say thank you so much to those of you that were concerned about the safety and well-being of our children. As their parents, that is our first and foremost main concern. But to know that other people share those same concerns for our precious boys, it really means a lot. So thank you. But I do want to clarify that we have not, would not, will not ever leave our children unattended. We would never ever want to put them in harm's way in any way. I do want to clear up the baby monitor situation. Our children sleep in these blackout tents every single night, whether or not we're traveling or if we're just home. And a feature of these tents is they have a spot for a sound machine and a spot for a monitor. And even if we are sleeping in the exact same room as our boys, we always turn their monitor on so we can watch and see what's happening inside the tent, make sure they're okay, see if they've fallen asleep or if they've woken up. We just love to have eyes on them. We're always concerned about them. And so that's why even when we would tag team and take turns at family dinner, we would turn on FaceTime so we could also have eyes on them as their parents if we weren't the ones, attending them in that moment.
And we're so thankful to them, you guys, because we spent a lot of our time on this boat in our staterooms manning the baby monitors. And if it wasn't for Abby's extended family, we really would have not gotten a chance to really get out of the room. So thank you to them. Thank you to you guys for listening to what we had to say. It really means a lot to us. And we appreciate you listening to the very end.
Thank you.
People were quick to point out how extremely artificial the video felt. Firstly, they both wore white, which is the color influencers typically wear when they make apology videos. Secondly, their body language was just off. They wouldn't make eye contact throughout the whole thing, and Matt awkwardly turns to Abby when she's talking, as if to demonstrate he's paying so much attention. And thirdly, they even tried the humble homemade effect, where Matt gets up to set the camera and gets up to turn it off at the end. This was clearly put together by an overpaid PR team. What's worse is that their stories don't quite match up. Matt and Abby are insinuating that they did in fact leave someone trustworthy with their kids when they went off for a dinner, and they only FaceTimed the baby monitor for extra insurance. But that doesn't make any sense. We saw on Abby's Instagram stories that they couldn't get a hold of any of the cruise ship services to babysit their child, so it couldn't be that they got someone from the cruise ship staff. So who did they actually get to look after the kids in 2 separate rooms? They never mentioned in the video. Then we know the kids were in the blackout tents, so whoever they did get to watch the kids would need to use the baby monitors to watch the kids, but they wouldn't be able to since Matt and Abby were FaceTiming the baby monitors with screens of their own. And then lastly, if the explanation was as simple as Matt and Abby having someone in the room watching the kids, then why did Abby have to delete all her posts? And why did it take them 3 whole days to respond? It smells like bullshit to anyone who's seen the facts. And this could be the beginning of the end for the Matt and Abby dynasty. This whole situation just doubled their haters and confirmed everyone's suspicion that they're perhaps a toxic couple. Because although Matt and Abby may not like criticism, it's what comes with making a career out of content of your own family. The internet knows way too much about this influencer couple, and at this point, some therapy is in order. Not just for their marriage, but also everyone who's had to watch their content.